Dear first year programming class at Nelson Mandela University, this is just my attempt to try and help you to get through the different emotions that you might be experiencing currently or in the upcoming weeks. Earlier this week, someone asked me, so Prof, what in your life has been similar to the Corona lockdown? I firstly want to say I'm not so old. At least I can't remember the Second World War. But I could immediately think of two events over the past 10 years that were slightly similar. The first event I could think of, which was slightly similar, would be the Soccer World Cup of 2010. For those who can't remember, the whole country, universities, schools, literally closed down for a full month. But obviously for much different reasons, so I can't really get some reflection that links the Soccer World Cup to the current events. But an event that I definitely recall and which has many touching points is the 2016 Fees Must Fall activities in our country. I remember I left my office on Monday the 19th of September, and except for one or two individual cases, we literally only came back in January 2017. So we were in an unnatural state of affairs for more than 3 months. So I try to remember how people responded, and by people I include myself, during that time, and maybe we can just prepare ourselves better if we remember how people responded in 2016. There was obviously a lot of anger, because different to current situation, we were in two camps. So there was a lot of debate, a lot of aggression. People were going to court, taking universities to court. Students were jailed. And all of this emotion was part and parcel of everyone involved. Everyone had some side to choose, some decisions to make, and were angry at other people. It's fair to say that currently we at least all have the same enemy. So we shouldn't be in two different camps here, but maybe anger is replaced by frustration. We could go into anger because we perceive that people make wrong decisions. Sometimes they make them because they're ill-informed. Sometimes they're purely selfish. Sometimes they're just not wise enough at that stage. But somehow we need to remember that most people that make decisions are trying their best. There are often, especially this year, no easy solutions. Information regarding the future and this virus is very limited. And we are definitely at war with an unreasonable enemy. So we are going to be frustrated, we are going to be angry, but let's just put it in context. Then I was very aware that many students and even lecturers simply went into a holiday mode during 2016. They would just watch TV and series and movies. Many drank too much. The liquor stores were packed often when you drive around in town or here in Summerstrand. But many other ways people responded by just simply being on holiday and seeing this as a fun time. Many students and staff, including myself, were very anxious. My own anxiety was about the future of university life. I could see us losing the whole year, and I just couldn't fathom how we would recover from this chaos, how we would still have a university the next year. That's the kind of questions I asked myself. I often saw students in coffee shops on one-on-one meetings. They were anxious about getting their degree, about not having money to come back next year, about having to stay on in December and there's no raise to stay in. All of these things caused anxiety, and I'm sure this is very relevant today. This was very real for staff as well as students. Isolation. We are used on campus to work in groups, to be in the same passage with our colleagues, to sit in classes, to socialize, and suddenly, in a sense, that is gone. And many students that came to speak me during that time really felt this sense of isolation very actively. I'm not an expert, maybe the one leads to the other, but I definitely saw students that went into depression. Um, they just went home and gave up on the year. Some never even came back the next year. So it was just so emotional for them that they went into depression and kind of gave up. One that I experienced personally, and I think many, especially staff, is that I became emotionally tired. Throughout this time of the Fees Must Fall, I tried to understand. I tried to listen to arguments on both sides. I tried to read up and find facts and find out why people react in what way. And at some stage, I just became so emotionally tired that I simply didn't want to read anymore. People were asking me, why aren't you on Facebook anymore? Why don't we see any posts from you? So in the current scenario, this could also happen. We are bombarded with facts and trends and statistics. People getting sick, people dying, people recovering. We see maps, we see graphs, we see simulations. And this can simply just make us emotionally tired. So we need to guard against not reading everything and wanting to know everything. I'm not a psychologist, so I'm not going to try and give help on all these issues. All I can say is it's okay to get help. It's okay to get help. We are in a traumatic time, and don't feel bad if you want to get help. I can't say more. When I think back to 2016, probably the best advice I got was from a colleague from another country that had a coffee with me and talking about what he has experienced regarding student protests in his country. And he said to me, even the best reason you have for not being productive does not help you get time back that was lost. The rest of the world will not wait for you. Now, in a sense, we could probably say that the whole world is waiting at the moment. So it's different to Fees Must Fall. But we must also acknowledge that some people are using this time more productive than others. And those that are not using it productively, your best reasons is not good enough. The others are not waiting for you. So if I think about myself in 2016, about all the emotions and issues I covered here, the only thing I didn't do was drink too much. So I don't feel guilty about that one, but all the other things were part of my life. So what changed my state of mind, and this is my only bit of advice, I started getting active. I initiated a WhatsApp distribution list to communicate with my first years, which I still do 4 years later. I started making videos on the course content, which I started WhatsApping to my students, which led to me doing videos on my full course in 2017. And I became involved in arranging off-campus venues where we could present lectures. So I started having purpose within this unnatural situation. So my only bit of advice I can give to you is get active, have purpose, wake up in the morning and have a plan for the day. Just a few thoughts from my side. We were back at university in 2017. Most of my 2016 first years have graduated, some even with an honours last year. But life at university was never the same again. All of us had to adapt and carry on. And this is the photo I took when I drove into campus for the first day in January 2017. I posted it on Facebook that day.